Welcome to Being Intrepid, where we share practical insights from leaders who are shaping the future of corporate learning. I'm your host, Sam Herring. For the past couple of decades, I've built and led various learning businesses that help people grow and organizations thrive. Most of our episodes for the podcast focus on traditional corporate learning, meaning internal audiences, employee audiences. But today, we're going to turn our attention to learning for the extended enterprise. So that's learning outside an organization for its partners, its customers, its suppliers, and so on. You might think, use cases in this sector would be professional associations, credentialing and certifying bodies, sometimes test prep, those kinds of scenarios. So to explore this rapidly growing and important segment in our economy, I didn't have to look too far for an expert. So I'm joined today by my colleague Corri McQuaid, who's the senior manager of business development for professional learning in the enterprise segment here at VitalSource. So Corri, welcome to Being Intrepid.
Hey, thanks for having me, Sam. Long time listener, first time participant on the podcast, but excited to be here.
Awesome, awesome. It's so fun to Corey and I have worked together, for several years, and it's so fun to sit down with you and really, tap your brain and have you share your knowledge with our audience. So, Corey, before we dive in, I always like to, have a kind of a personal start to the conversation. So, have a fascinating background. You're a trained vocalist and a teacher. So, tell us about your background and what led you down this path to joining educate to the educational technology space?
Absolutely. And loaded question from the jump. But so yeah, I was a voice major back in college, which feels like a whole different life. And it was because I loved singing. Straightforward as that. My mom was a teacher for over 30 years, and I really immersed myself in the singing and specifically music theory
Okay.
type learning. And so I got my master's in education, and then I spent 7 years as a music teacher in various counties. And then kind of just flipped the script and moved into VitalSource and into the corporate world right from the classroom.
Fascinating, fascinating. Well, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but you share that passion with my daughter, who's also a big singer as well. So exciting to see what she does with that too. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
amazing. Okay, well, so that's super interesting. So let's jump into the professional learning extended enterprise segment. So for those who are less familiar with this, can you tell us a bit about, kind of unpack the professional learning segment? Tell us a little bit of, like, from your perspective, who are the customers? What challenges do they typically face? And what kinds of solutions does VitalSource provide them?
Absolutely. Yeah, you identified our market pretty well in the introduction, but we're working with mainly people who are creating content and need help to distribute that content in a scalable and accessible and integrated fashion.
Mhm.
And so, some of our folks are those professional associations where they might have member benefit libraries, and we're helping them vend content as a member value. They might commoditize their content externally in some type of marketplace
Mhm. Mhm.
environment. We are also working with folks in the test prep field and in the training and certification in that way, not only by helping them distribute that content to their direct audiences, whether that's B2C or B2B, but helping them access and tap into our robust channel in higher
Okay.
ed.
Mhm.
That's how a lot of people know about VitalSource is through that academic lens. We're integrated in the majority of your 2 and 4 year institutions, and
Mhm.
so, people will graduate and have studied on our platform, and then they get into the workforce and need to iterate upon their skills and build new skills, just in the same way that I transitioned my career from teaching into VitalSource, needing to do, professional training and things like that to kind of hone in on what's next. and what you want to be when you grow up, which I think I'm still trying to figure out, and maybe
Aren't
others are too.
aren't we all? Aren't we all,
Yeah.
Corey? Okay, so that makes a ton of sense. Like just being in this network, being positioned to, reach students and lifelong students, like you said. So tell me a little bit about what makes the vital source proposition so valuable to these organizations, because it's more than just that distribution. I know it's not like you're just distributing PDFs. So tell us a little bit
Right.
about the special sauce here for vital source technology.
Absolutely. And a lot of people might know us from higher ed in that academic space. And while that is a large footprint for VitalSource, we care about the continuous learning journey of users. And that really brings into perspective the scale and value of VitalSource being the world's largest learning delivery network. We're connecting people from their 2 and 4 year colleges all the way through when they retire from their career, by giving them that digital content at the point they need in their learning journey. All of what we do in the learning network is kind of founded on accessibility, content security, user privacy, and most important, in my opinion, learning impact. And
Mhm,
so, we're not just delivering e-reader experiences. We're
mhm,
not just
mhm.
taking a PDF and displaying it to people. We're making sure that when they get the learning content from us, whether that's courseware, virtual labs, things that we're connecting our publishers and our institutions with, or if it's something where we need to turn a PDF or an EPUB into a more dynamic and engaging experience, we're ensuring that our learning tools and our integration really support that impact journey, and making sure when folks work with our technology, they're left feeling like it was seamless. Maybe we're invisible to them in all ways, but they've walked away without a confusing experience and ultimately the trusted core content that they need.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how much is under the hood, to make that happen at scale, Corey. So incredible. So let's talk about, could you give us a customer example to kind of bring this to life, for us?
Absolutely. Yeah. Without naming names, we work with a major professional association that specializes in training and certification for healthcare business
Okay.
roles.
Okay.
And we help them deliver secure and immersive reader experiences, both to their direct audiences,
Mhm.
and through their marketplace. And we also help them scale that digital content through our channel. So when we talk about the learning delivery network, we're really tapping into our great partnerships that we've had with our institutions and our resellers and areas in higher ed where we're already plugged in, and we can help boost scale for this professional association.
Okay, got it. Got it for that continued learning journey for those professionals. Okay, let's shift gears. Let's look forward to where you see the professional learning space heading. How are expectations changing for these associations, these test bodies for your customers? What are some of the trends you're seeing, Corey?
Great question. The number one thing I would say is more so now than ever after we are post COVID, things just need to be stupid simple.
Yeah.
If something isn't easily accessible and in the format or place that you need it, people are going to give up. We've all
Mhm.
got busy lives going on, and so trend wise, it needs to be more integrated, more embedded into the learning ecosystem, what we're
Mhm.
delivering than ever
Mhm.
before.
Yep.
Also, with that, people are really honing in on the data that we can provide that inform SMEs, they inform go-to-market strategies for our content providers. There's a number of things that I see now more than ever, and obviously AI, it's everywhere,
Yep.
and it's
Yep.
so we have a solution for that as well. But this year, and in the past several months specifically, as we see people switching back to those blended modalities and things like that, they need their content that they had in one modality to work for another.
Yeah, gosh, that simplicity just really resonates, and we hear that all the time. And their phrase that resonates with that is this in the flow of work. Just having it, embed in your systems and where you're already doing your work. So that makes so much sense. So you mentioned AI,
I
a
had
bit of
to.
a bit of a trend. Um, so it's obviously shaping so much of our lives and learning in particular. But this is not VitalSource's first rodeo. It's not like we woke up with OpenAI's announcement and ChatGPT coming on the stage and saying, "Well, let's check that out." We have a deep heritage, and it goes back to applied research from Carnegie Mellon. So can you talk to us a little bit about how that research is integrated into Bookshelf, and also some of the AI principles that guide the work?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've been touching on AI for a while now, and we don't necessarily consider it a trend. It's the future,
Hmm.
and we're evolving and iterating on our technology to respond to that.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, we've, built off of this research at Carnegie Mellon through our acrobatic team. And, we have this dedicated group of learning scientists who publish numerous articles and research papers that kind of prove how learners are engaging with AI, how they would learn more effectively. And
Hmm.
all of this kind of, you know, um, kind of gathered with the doer effect. And the doer effect is an established learning science principle that proves doing practice on your content is 6 times the effect of learning than just reading the
Hmm.
content
Hmm.
on its own.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so we've taken the doer effect and, we released Bookshelf Coach Me a few years back, which essentially prompts the reader with questions about the content that they have just read, asking them to apply it immediately. And we're just now rolling out a new feature called Bookshelf Plus, which I'll get into a bit more. But essentially, everything that we're doing at VitalSource with AI is founded on our AI principles. And those really quickly are accountability, transparency, efficacy, responsibility, and being ethical, data privacy, and security. And we're taking those all very seriously, ensuring that, we're not doing AI because it's a trend. It's the cool new thing to do. And we're making sure that at the core of what we're building is that responsibility. And we're happy to share more information about our AI policy, about our AI principles. And, that's one of the most valuable things that I think we can get out of what everyone else is doing, 'cause everyone's
Yep.
doing a thing.
Yep.
So for us to kind of tap into what we consider to be the right way to do it, really means a lot for us over here.
Yeah, I mean that foundation of trust, I think is so important, and it's as the gold rush of AI is happening right now, to be able to have a partner who is deeply rooted in this, who comes from, is informed by research with Carnegie Mellon, and is committed long term. Like you said, it's not just flavor du jour. I think is so important. And then going back to the doer effect too. One thing that strikes me for your audience and our audience at Intrepid, Corey, is that the doer effect is so important and practice is so important, particularly for adult learners, because it's not just about knowledge retention. It's about how are you going to apply that at work. So just love your comments on that and unpacking the doer effect for us and sharing that 6x stat there, which is phenomenal.
We take it very seriously. And yeah, to your point about applying your knowledge, I mean, many of the learners that are consuming with our platform through this segment are people on the job that need to
Yep.
access their standards-based learning. They need to access the most recent medical codes. They need to access the latest and greatest from that secured and trusted partner that we're
Yep.
working with. And so having the ability to update the content and keep it fresh is really crucial for folks who are applying that immediately.
Yeah, amazing. So, given this foundation with AI, and we've been having conversations with our customers. They've been using AI inside Bookshelf for some time. Where do you hear from customers now with this new wave of Gen AI? Like, How are they reacting? What kinds of questions are there? Misconceptions out there? What are you hearing from customers about AI?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's when people think about AI, they think about ChatGPT, they think about training LLMs and chatbots and things like that. And we really want to set ourselves apart with Bookshelf Plus and Coach Me and all of our AI innovations that we've done. And the main differentiator for Bookshelf Plus is it operates securely within the established reputation of the Bookshelf platform that we all know and love, where it keeps the publisher content protected and it's never exposed to open AI models or used to train
Hmm.
LLMs or anything like that. And I mentioned this earlier, but everything that we're doing is grounded in that learning science. So we have proved, and we will continue to prove, how the things that we're building around AI and Bookshelf Plus specifically is designed to increase the learner engagement and amplifying the value of the digital content for the modern learner.
Got it, got it. And I mean that security and privacy, just like a ubiquitous value proposition and an important piece for any use of AI. But I can imagine both for learners who are engaging, they don't want necessarily their questions out there, and for the publishers, my gosh, I mean, like securing their IP is just fundamental. So that just thanks for hitting those value props. Awesome. So looking ahead, how do you see AI impacting the future of professional learning? And what are some of the big opportunities for innovation that you see at VitalSource for AI's innovation impact?
Absolutely. One area that I'll say we're not really looking to innovate is in the content creation space. Sure, we
Mhm.
have tools, we have recommendations, thought leadership on creating accessible and engaging learning content.
Mhm.
But there's tons of tools out there, especially now with AI, that can kind of help you take traditional materials and embellish them.
Yeah.
And that's come a long way. And ideally, they are as accessible as the market is demanding as well. One thing that I think is innovative that we're up to is, having the concept of interrogating your book. You're
Mm.
assigned some content that you need for training or to prep for a high stakes certification or something like that. And you can, reverse the classroom a bit in the professional sense, where you can ask your book questions and get back trusted answers from that, assigned material and not from everywhere else, all the noise, right? And so, taking that principle and having that conversation with your
Mhm.
book, I
Mhm.
think is crucial. And so, whether that's in a true book experience or, evolving to more of a talk with your book modal. I think
Mhm.
we have a lot of opportunity here to build upon the work that we've already done to just make it even more user friendly and taking that core content and making it exciting.
Yeah, well, a couple things I really love about what you said, Corey. One is you really implicit there is core competence that you said, hey, look, there's a lot of content creation tools out there, so 100% we see that too, as well on the Intrepid team. And but focusing on what does Bookshelf do really well? Well, it surfaces, expert content and then being able to engage with that. I can see that going in some really interesting directions if you think about trends like digital twins and giving some personality to that engagement with the content, perhaps with an author or an expert or a historical figure or something. There's some really interesting vectors that could take in the future. So super excited to see where that goes. And I like you, am just amazed by our product team and some of the innovations that they're working on. So can't wait to see what happens next.
Same, yeah. Bookshelf Plus is really exciting for us. It works on all types of content,
Yeah.
so we'd love to explore it more. But it does some things that, in addition to the conversing with your book around using human voices for read aloud and
Mm-hmm.
making things again feel really natural. They also, we saw serve a global audience. And so it's important for us to work with non-English, non-native English folks who need to interrogate their book. They need study tools. They need recommendations on how to engage with their content. And they can use their native language in Bookshelf Plus to do so. And we're giving them an answer back in their native language from trusted English source content.
Amazing, amazing. This is going to be so exciting. So let's do a lightning round, Corey.
Ooh,
So we'll do some rapid fire questions here to get your sense on the market.
I'm
So
ready.
yeah, here we go. So, what's the biggest difference that you think leaders need to understand between learning for an internal employee audience and those in the space that you typically serve, professional learning in this extended enterprise?
That's a great question. Number one thing that comes to mind is cost, right?
Mm,
People think of external training as something that's, they've got to pass down the cost or eat it on their budget. And that's not necessarily true. We're very
hmm
flexible as far as models are concerned with, making internal and external business models work. I think
hmm
that it's ideal when a company kind of looks across itself and, implements tech or a tech stack that might be successful in external training for internal purposes or vice versa.
hmm
Because essentially, we have value props for internal training. We have folks that we work with who are doing internal training. And so when we see that, those best practices kind of shared amongst an organization, folks have that single federated auth integrated point to access content that they might need for internal L&D or upskilling in their profession, as well as things that they might put on the commercial market.
Yeah, that business model flexibility that you mentioned is just really resonates as well because I know you have customers that, literally want to serve the world. It's almost like an evangelism value
Right.
proposition for content versus others that the selling the content is their business. Like they have to
Yeah.
monetize it. So you need to be able to meet both of those propositions, and I know you do so well in your
We
business.
do. Yeah, we're encountering, especially in the IT training space, content is free. It is
hmm
our ethical responsibility as a content provider to distribute that as widely as possible.
hmm
But also collecting data on the back end, because if someone is trained in a certain industry or in IT with a specific type of solution, that, the career that they have where they implement that training is really the ROI that our folks are investing in there. And so if they want to, you know, share it with the world and evangelize for their content, we're here to support them, and we can be flexible with the business model to make that happen.
Awesome, awesome. I realize I kind of stepped on the lightning round. That was more like rolling thunder with my following follow-up question. So,
All good.
okay, so one innovation in learning you're most excited about right now.
I think we've touched on it a little bit, but conversing with your book.
Mm.
Books haven't traditionally been the most exciting learning material, and
hmm
having a conversation with the trusted core content, I think is a game changer. Because not a lot of people, especially in this industry, are sitting down for minutes and hours at a time having study sessions and doing that in a traditional classroom sense. And so having that quick reference with our technology to ask your book questions, get trusted answers back is really exciting.
Yeah, wow, gosh. I mean, and digital natives who, I mean, I can speak firsthand with kids I know, perhaps in my family, are not big readers. Being able to engage in new ways is super exciting for all kinds of audiences. Okay, customer perspectives are so valuable. So, what's something you've learned from a customer this year?
Great question. My customers are always keeping me on my toes, which is one thing that I really love about my job. But one thing I've learned, and I've actually, from not one customer, but a large group of our customers and prospective clients, is their success stories and their journey that they're taking on mapping skills in the workforce to education,
Mm-hmm.
and having, ultimately employers hire the best people in the workforce with the most skill, the most relevant competencies in their tool belt from their education, from their prior careers, from things like that. And that's all about interoperability, having
Mhm.
the technology on their side to support recognizing credentials and degrees and things like that throughout
Mhm.
a user's life, I think is crucial. So the data that we're able to kind of contribute to that and being the source of content for many of those partners, kind of puts us in a cool position.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. All right, so let's kind of take the other side of the coin. Like, what's a common struggle that you see customers wrestling with when it comes to digital adoption, and what's some advice you would give? What's your pearls of wisdom you'd offer them?
Okay, yeah, pearls of wisdom. I think that folks get overwhelmed with the need to overhaul a piece of learning technology with a replacement, or
Hmm.
change management is difficult, changing a user journey from X to Y. And so my advice is try it.
Hmm.
We're
Hmm.
always down to do pilots. We're always down to work with you to obviously talk about our solutions and how they may or may not fit with an organization, but ultimately, lead you to finding the right partner for your organization based on your requirements and your timeline and your budget and all these things. And so when in doubt, you don't need to necessarily go get approval to, start up a new program or a new solution next week. But we'd love to talk to you. And I think everyone out there in the business would love to kind of just get your toes and dip your toes in the water, get your hands dirty, whatever you want to say
Yeah,
there, to
yeah.
try out things that are happening, and evolving, because something that worked for you a year or two ago may not work today and requirements may have changed. So just try it, see what happens.
Love that. Love that. Jump in, give it a shot. And I've seen how you make it easy. You make the complex very, very easy with VitalSource tools. So and your team. So that's
Thanks.
awesome.
You have a firsthand experience.
I do indeed. So, so Corri, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your insights and educating us on the extended enterprise and professional learning space. So, one question: if any of our one in our audience you would like to get in touch with you and learn more, what's the best way for them to connect?
Um, you can find me anywhere. I'm on LinkedIn, Corri McQuaid. You can email me directly if you want to learn more. It's corri.mcquaid@vitalsource.com. Or feel free to reach out to your contacts at Intrepid, and they'll definitely connect me since we're all colleagues.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. So, to our audience, if you enjoyed this episode, please follow or subscribe to Being Intrepid wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us, find a link on our website. And a quick heads up, I'll be podcasting live at DevLearn in November 2025. If you'll be there, come by and say hello. And as a Being Intrepid listener, you can use the code Intrepid to get $100 off the conference registration. So that's it for today. Until next time, keep asking the hard questions, chart your own course, and keep on learning. Thanks, Corri.
Thanks for having me, Sam.